Hi, Lily.
Hi.
Cheers, everyone. My mint tea. So I'm Tiera St. Clair, and this is Lily Lash, and we're going to go into some bass together. And I've been looking at bass. Oof, gosh, what's it been like? Full on kind of a year or something
Yeah,
now.
I would say.
And yeah, it has understanding bass itself and the base that I am has given me myself in a way that everything else hadn't yet in human design. Primarily, I would say, of course, strategy and authority and recognizing myself as an emotional generator. The second thing that just really gave me to me was variable and understanding those lefts and rights of me. And then lunar and planetary color, and now base. And base is what each one of us has been. It's the only aspect of us that has been the same throughout time since what we'll call the Big Bang, which is 15 billion years ago. So it's a pretty long time to be the one thing. And what I have found is that recognizing in me that core essence has helped me to just love myself. And it's also helped me to see why other people don't always like me. But somehow there's relief in both of that. Because if I'm something that I've been for 15 billion years, it's not something I'm going to be able to change. Things on the surface I can identify trying to change for other people, trying to be more strategic. I am not strategic. um, trying to be um, something that other people wanted me to be. And I've even mimicked behaviors like I don't have a defined spleen. And I notice that people want me to care about them in a way that splenic people do. And so I have found that I can mimic those behaviors. And I do it if it's someone I care about as a friend so that they can feel the sense that I care about their health or their body or their survival, which are the splenic caring things. But really, what's genuine in me is I care about feelings because I'm emotionally defined. So, that being said, when I first started looking at bass, I I did some inner visioning, which I have the tone four in two places. It's in my environment nodes and it's in my personality tone. And it's called inner vision. And I have a gift of inner vision that I've been honing and recognizing since even before human design. So I went back and 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 back until I could identify the very beginning. And then I went before the beginning, and then I became, and I felt the sense of that. And I will share after I do that with you so that we can both do that again. And then I'll go into some teachings. And we'll just see if I can bring us back to that moment in our inner worlds and see what we see. Because at the very core level, the base that each one of us is the perspective that we've always had. And there's one fifth of the world that I see and one fifth of the world that you see, and etc. with everybody. So if you want, Lily, and anyone who might be watching this, just close your eyes and feel your body. Just feel the cells, feel the breath. Take an easy, easy breath and feel how the body is one with itself. And that breath happens and thoughts happen. feelings happen. And allow the breath to nourish. And allow the breath to be. And feel in to you. Feel into the essence. There's a spark. There's a deep, deep spark that is you, that has always been you. And follow it back, follow it back, follow it back and back and back. Through decades, back through decades, through centuries, back and back and back, through centuries and millennia, to before we even knew there was anything. Follow it back and back and back. Back to the beginning, back, back. Follow it back, follow that spark, follow it back and back and back. And feel yourself being pulled back to see the beginning, back before we were, back before, back before, before, and let everything fall away, back before, back to just before the beginning. And then whoosh, become the you that you have always been, and feel that. Feel that. Feel the becoming. Look and see. Look and see. Base one, movement is energy. Energy is creation. Creation is seeing. Seeing is landscape. Landscape is environment. I define. Base two, evolution is gravity. Gravity is memory. Memory is taste. Taste is love. Love is light. I remember. Base three, being. Being is matter. Matter is touch. Touch is sex. Sex is survival. I am. Base four, design is structure. Structure is progress. Progress is smelled. Smelling is life. Life is art. I define. I design. And base five, space is form. Form is illusion. Illusion is hearing. Hearing is music. Music is freedom. And feel the essence of who you are, of who you have always been. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And if you're ready, you can share.
Hmm. What I envisioned, excuse me, was the sense of going back to the um, before the base, I guess, or coming into
The Big
the
Bang.
light, the Big Bang, which to me is the atomicness of being able to see and be. And it felt like many nuclear happenings, explosions, just pow, 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 pow. But in and it also felt like the first base started out shedding the light, like lighting things up as we were moving, almost for lack of better words, behind it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you went into the second base, um, which is more, it felt like it's more starting to form all the amino acids, all the chemicals of like
Mm.
what the stars and the galaxies are made of. And it had its own frequency and patterns, but they weren't coagulated yet. Um, and so the base had its own patterns and frequencies, whatever number it was, but I couldn't recognize them except for they had their own lane, their own um, taking up space, I guess, of the Big Bang. Then right in the middle of that is the three, is the beingness, what I heard you say. And I might not have interpreted exactly, um, but it felt like the beingness brought in with the touch and um, just existing, being, um, that the two had something to materialize for, and the the one had something to light up for, like for people to see. And then the fourth, I'm not quite as understanding about the fourth, but it is about, I think, structure of how things work, or how we manage to um, maybe create rules, regulations, structures to be able to live within because we're becoming more and more formed. And then the five just umbrellas, it felt like it umbrellaed it all. And as it felt like I was just flying through space, expanding out, and yet not expanding, but condensing. And but always has had the frequency and the characteristics of the base, whatever the base is. And then I got close to becoming a creature of some kind, and then here I am.
And do you have a sense of your base?
I I do, since I know of it, you have shared quite a bit with me, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um, but it feels like for physical, for existence, things I feel like kind of orbit around that. That's what I felt like. It was the center, for being in physical form. It was the how the light, the other four bases anchored or something. I'm not quite sure if those are the right words. I'd like to, explore that more and see what those are because I don't know right now. But that's for that short amount of time, there's quite a bit of information.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so do you resonate as being a base three?
I do.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do. And you've gone over with me in whatever other studies that, come across my doorstep. The other bases um, are not quite don't hit the mark
Uh-huh.
as much as for me the base three.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I definitely resonate as being a base one. And when I first did that inner visioning with myself, I saw me coming out and it was just I was light, I was energy, I was movement, I was seeing light, moving and seeing and moving and seeing and moving and seeing. I had no cognition of a body. I did not feel embodied. I felt actualized somehow. I did have a an experience of a monopole, what I'm calling a monopole because I understand because I felt directional. I felt directional very much. And yeah, that's very much the base one. I'm gonna go find my notes now and we can just go through it. What is happening here? Wait. I lost my notes. Here they are. Those kind of prose poems came directly from Ra, by the way, and there's a lot in them to deconstruct. And it can be quite a rabbit hole going into base. So let's just see where we go. Um, so this is the foundation, and it is our unique perspective. Um, base, it's hard to visualize some of this stuff when we're talking about things that are so primary. I mean, when you look at the rave chart, it's on the surface. You have a role, you have activations, you have definitions, you have an authority and a type and a strategy and all of that. When you get down to the base, um, it's a little mysterious, we'll say. So we'll see how well we can put this into words. And base is the frequency. So let's say all these neutrinos are coming from, for example, the sun. Base is what they hit. Base is what they go into. It's the entry frequency. It's like the doorway, so to speak. It's a dimension. And so if I've had the same base and you've had the same base and everybody everywhere since the Big Bang, we have had that same base. All of those neutrinos that have ever come into us have come through a certain dimension, which we're calling base, and it's also a certain perspective. Okay, so there's five different bases, and I have only been seeing through the perspective of base one. You ever for 15 billion years. I've never had a different perspective. You've never had a different perspective than through that base three. That's a bigger statement than those words would say. So, it's like maybe like, whoa, I've never seen what a base two or three or four or five sees, right? I've only
Yeah.
seen that one perspective. So the base one is relative. Two is spirit, three is trajectory, four is manifestation, five is space. Each base does not care about the other ones. And it also doesn't care. I mean, let's take out caring, but the base also is not really concerned with the tone, the color, the line, the rave chart, the variables, the incarnation crosses. It's just itself, it's just its thing. And there's a certain um, job, if you will, to put it in very human terms, that each base is here. Like the base one, bring energy, bring light, bring movement. Base three, bring matter, So that's one of the things we're going to be looking at as we go along here is, well, what's been my job this whole time? Beyond what it looks like as, for me, a 3-5 emotional generator 59, 6, 52, 9, 29, 46. And what's interesting for me is when I look at my rave chart, which it's easy to look at a rave chart and go, oh, that's me, that's Tiera. But as a base one, 59, 6 is not who I would naturally be. 52, 9 is really not who I would naturally be. That's like be still. And be still is not base one. Base one is constantly in movement. I mean, Ra's funny when he talks about it. He says it's just a wriggling little thing that won't stop wriggling. Not super flattering, but somewhat accurate.
Yes, I have
Um,
known you for a while, and that is an accuracy, which I've come to appreciate, actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so we've for 15 billion years, we've each had one perspective, and it's 20% of the whole because there's five pieces and 20, that's 20%. There's a thing I mostly I've listened to Ra in bass. I've listened to Jonah Dempsey, who I had no idea was such a really fabulous teacher. In fact, I can't think of anyone other than Ra I've ever listened to. And now I've listened to Jonah, and he brought this thing up called the principle, which is that it's an 80-20 principle. Like 20% of customers create 80% of sales. It's this, they've seen statistics where 20% usually um, does 80%. 20% of the population does 80% of the blah, 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 fill in the blank. And that's interesting
Hmm.
because that's the 20% that we are. So each base is going to have 80% of something, the 20% having 80% of some, you know, 20% of the base one, 20% is movement. We are the 20% that are moving. Um, Another thing that has been brought up is that the base two and four are the hardest to wake up in human design. They're the least interested. The two, because the two is the quality of mind, and they usually do pretty well. Like their minds are brilliant, so they can get along in life. I can see that in my daughter. She's like, she does really well in life. And so she's not one of the many of us who have been looking for something to find a way to make life more tolerable. And the four are the designers, so they want to design their own thing, not go into someone else's. Okay, I'm just going to say this is raw. Let's go to the four dimensions of light. When we're looking at relativity, the E, the energy, is equal to the matter. But it is not exactly equal to matter, is it? When you think about it, when we go back to the original before the start and we come back here, there's only two things. There's only energy and matter. That would be base one and base three. And we know that in this case, these are equals, if we can put it that way. And they are equals as long as they don't meet. When they meet, they create something else. But the
Hmm.
moment that you enter into the domain of relativity, it's not about working out the relationship between energy and matter, but figuring out why the world works as it does. And what we end up with is that energy equals matter times the speed of light equals mc squared. In other words, energy equals matter times the speed of light squared. And this is how the whole visual universe takes its shape. This is the world we live in. This is the laws of the world that we live in. Each of the bases is connected to one of the things that we have learned about in human design. The one is connected to the monopole. The 2 and the 5 are connected to the personality crystal. The 3 and the 4 are connected to the design crystal.
Could you repeat that? I just want to write that real quickly.
I
So
can send you these notes.
would you? Okay.
Mhm. Okay, so let's look at each one.
Okay.
Number 1, the first base. Where am I? Where am I going? Where am I? Where am I going? Where am I? Where am I going? I'm laughing because that's my whole world. That's all I ever think about, really, other than if there's something I happen to have to think about in my, that comes up that I respond to. Okay, so this is movement. This is reaction. So one of the principles, and one of the things I want to say is that as I understand it, the voice gave the base teaching to Ra, and Ra extrapolated out a lot of the other teachings from the base teaching. And one of the teachings is that there is no action. There is only reaction in our whole world because the only action that has ever taken place in this thing we call our world was the Big Bang.
Hmm.
Everything else from that moment is a reaction to what has unfolded. And you find that reaction primarily in the base one, and this is where we get our principle of no choice, because we only can react. Base one has measurement. This is the yang principle, yang yang. This is separation, energy, location, location, location. This is individuality and uniqueness. This is activity. I define. And we have no choice here also because there is no overlap, that scientific principle that says no two objects can be in the same space at the same time. Just not possible. So a lot of what people will come to the first base for is their uniqueness. It's their unique perspective because they came out and they're not bound by some of the things that the other bases are bound by and are adhering to in a sense. So there's this quality of uniqueness and individuality um, in the perspective. And you might notice that that is what you go to your base one people for. Like I don't ever think that something is true because I heard it. I just don't. I it means kind of nothing to me just because I hear something. And I see people all the time who think there are more rules than there are and more um, adherences that must be obeyed and all sorts of things like that. No, I just need to move. It has a strong affinity with the 4, which we'll get to. These are the whirling dervishes, the dancing, the surrender to movement and the origin of time. Time is here and it's rooted in movement. This is the monopole, the coordinator. This is reaction, limitation, perspective, and relation, relativity. The one's primary orientation is to be separate in movement through reaction, putting out orientation to distinguish itself from others through movement. I have a friend who has done a lot of studying in psychology and how people function and in groups and not groups and all of this. And she said to me once that, there's like a spectrum of people being unique and people being alike because a lot of and especially in the female principle I've noticed I'm a base one which is yang yang but I'm a woman so I have all of this women characteristics which would be yin, right? So it's an interesting perspective for me. um, I can recognize as a woman that what we like is likeness, Oh, you had a hard breakup. I had a hard breakup too. Let's bond because we have a similarity of experience. Well, the base one has none of that going on. It has uniqueness as a primary primary. What word was I about to say?
You say it sounds like you're going to say access, but
I know, but
character,
that didn't make sense. Maybe it does.
characteristic or
Yeah, we'll go with characteristics. Um, this uniqueness, this individuality. Um, I have often found myself to be the one where a whole group is being led in a certain way, and I'm the one that goes, "Why are we going there?" Now, what's really interesting about the base one is that all of the other bases have a quality in them which will find a way to cooperate with others. And when we get to the base three, we'll see that the primary functioning of that there. But the base one doesn't actually have this at all. There is no inclination to cooperation. And it's because of this, I think, in my personal life that people haven't liked me. And it helps me to understand that now. It's also the reason that at some point the base one, whereas the bases two, three, four, and five are going to continue into infinity, whatever that is, the base one is going to be destroyed at a certain point because it doesn't cooperate, basically, and it's not needed. Like I can even feel in me that in the before, this movement and light and energy and this opening the new territory and finding the new, that was needed. We had to have that in order to go forth. But we've kind of done that. And so what I can see that I encounter, and I wonder if other base one people encounter it as well, is kind of a feeling like you don't belong anymore. You don't get along with us. You just want to do your own thing and you don't get along with us. So why are you here at all? And it is the base ones are going to go back to the sun, and it's the base three who are going to send them there. And it was a very interesting thing when I heard Ra talk about it. His voice took on a mystical quality, and he said, "And when this happens, there will be no tears shed. There will be no tears shed. I certainly won't shed them. I will be happy to be free. Um, I don't need to be here in circumstances that want me to cooperate because it's not my essence. And if that's all that's left, I might as well be not. I will be not." This is pre-civilization, not very civilized, unyielding, not receptive, pushy, the penetrative force for finding a new location and a new place. The ones need to learn how to handle and accept the limitations whilst maintaining uniqueness in the face of the dislike of others. This is what maintains the integrity of their unique perspective. This is the foundation one. Remember, if we go back all the way up in the rave chart, the one is the foundation. So this is the foundation of the unique perspective. It is very far from being human. Movement and separation keeps us alive. This begins the process of all. It is the first breath of life. I define. This is the basis of life. Fulfillment through movement, definition through separation, individuality. No movement, no life. Cultural enrichment expands consciousness. Activity produces mutation. This underlies everything. Identifying and defining. Only this leads to the expansion of consciousness. We constantly reinvent our world by changing our perspective, seeing uniquely. This is the pure yang energy moving toward the yin, looking to penetrate the initiating force. This is measurement creating the Maya. Maya means to measure. This is movement creating separation. No two things in the same place at the same time. To measure, you must be separate. Movement leads to uniqueness, and this is life. We are already one. That's a given. We started out as one, and now we're all becoming something we think is different from each other, but the oneness is inherent. We can't get away from that. This is the differentiation. The one can be aggressive. It's very, very fixed on where am I? Where am I going? Where am I? Where am I going? It's so funny for me, Lily, because that is so primary in me and always has been that when I ask that question of other people and they don't seem to care about the answer, I like that's what happens in me. How can that not be your primary question? Isn't that the only question? Well, not for everybody, for 20%. These are scientists, these are searchers. Life keeps life alive. I move, I define, I measure, I see. If you can define something, you can play with it. Defining something allows acceptance. It's one of the great things that human design gives us. When I when I can look at someone's chart and see who they are, I can accept them. Whereas before that, it can be more difficult for me to accept them because I don't understand. How can you be like that? Because I have no conception of the perspective that they're coming from. But when I can see their chart, I can go, oh, I see how that happens. And then I can just let go and surrender to that they are who they are and accept that. Such a great gift. Here we have the delight and deliciousness of aloneness, of self-love. I am different. Base one maintains the dimensional field, measuring restriction, defining through separation. Only through interactive separation can consciousness grow. Movement is the deepest underlying theme of life. If nothing moves, I mean, imagine, you have a new baby and it stops moving. That's alarming. You want your baby to move. I mean, not if it's asleep, but even when babies are asleep, it moves. The chest, it breathes. Maybe there's a little twitch and stuff. The non-movement is the non-life. This is the essential foundation of beauty, the profound response to light. Light is foundational to seeing. Light is everything. Seeing is everything. Ugliness is unbearable. It damages base one not to look at beauty. Ra even said that a base one, if they're born in an ugly hospital, the the damage of that will stay with them for their whole life. That just the ugliness of looking out there and not seeing something of beauty. And it's like finally that answers that question for me. Like beauty is so profoundly essential to my well-being. It's way beyond pretty. I like pretty. Pretty's great. But beauty and being able to see beauty, it's unbearable not to. I feel unalive. It damages them not to look at beauty. These people are not believers. You better fucking show me. The base one is always looking at and for the vista of life. The where. Where is my place? These are the migrators, the pathfinders. Must see what's beyond the next bend. What's there? What's next? What's next? What's next? Um, there can be competition here. Now, I didn't really relate to that, so I might have to go deeper into what competition is. Um, when I think of competition, it's like I want to win over you is what I think competition is. Well, actually, I just want to go where I want to go and don't want you to stop me. And if I have to win something to do that, I I want to win, but I don't quite get the whole competition thing that's in the base one yet. But there is scorekeeping, and I can sort of relate to scorekeeping, but I don't know because I think of that kind of as a tribal thing also. So those are the two things that I'm like, they didn't just hit me like everything else did. It can feel cruel to other people because I am not cooperative. The base one is not cooperative, and that can feel cruel. Sorry. Okay. Anything you want to say or ask or comment about all that base one business?
Um, well, a lot of this since I've known you for many, many years,
Yeah.
is very consistent and very seeable. And also where my growth is within our relationship and friendship is continually allowing for that to evolve or to emerge from you because it's so consistent, it's
Yeah.
there's no changing it except for maybe understanding it might change the way it lands within the frequency of the relationship, or the vibration of the relationship. And I thought about the beauty and I wondered about the base ones in beauty and what connotates beauty. Is it across the board? What is beauty? That's what came up in me because I know what your beauty is, um, on the surface a lot. What's consistent in you is very cultural, very artistic, colorful, um, in movement, right? It's moving through beauty or getting walking as fast as you can to beauty.
I don't walk
Um,
as fast as I can.
okay, but you
Oh,
keep
you mean to
going through.
get to, oh, you mean like if I'm walking through ugliness, I'll walk fast to
Yes,
get to the beauty. Yes, that's true.
yes, that's what I meant.
Yes. Yeah.
But somebody else maybe, this is what I don't know, with that one might say, well, I'm moving, but not like you're moving, you know. So what, um, and beauty, yes, they probably, probably say, yes, beauty is so essential to me, right? It's my life, basically. But what kind of takes beauty? Do you have any, because I think about, I looked at some of my friends that I have, and we don't know for sure if that's their base because it changes how many, every 15, 20 seconds or something,
It's not
base
that
does.
quick, but it can be depending when you're born.
So, but it's fairly fast, within
It's
minutes.
quick. Yes, it's quick.
Yeah. But the ones that have the base one, they're not moving like you move, you know? Um,
Yeah. One thing that I would say, I have a sense of this beauty thing. So let me do the beauty and then remind me
okay,
if I don't go into that move like I do. As I imagine that movement, what the movement is about is finding something. And the beauty tells me that I found something.
okay. So that's continually feeding your movement of
Yeah.
your direction and
Yeah. And
okay.
and it's one. So I mean it wouldn't be hard for me to say everyone likes beauty. I mean, I've never known someone who would say I don't like beauty.
Yeah,
So this is a foundational thing of the world.
yeah,
Um and what I sense, and I don't know that I have the words for it yet, but that the beauty for the base one is I don't want to call it the motivation because that's jumping up into the keynote for the color. It's the it's it's the raison d'etre. It's the whole reason to move is beauty. Without beauty, there would be nowhere to go. I think they go hand in hand. I think movement and beauty are kind of one and the same. I mean, and then when we look at me, like, I mean, it's almost comical. I am such a keynote of myself at this point, because I spend every single day. I wake up and I do whatever I do in the morning, and then I go out and I do this walk run now where I kind of do this little bouncy prance for about 15 kilometers. That's my average. Sometimes 20. I did 30 in Marbella one day. I just move and see. And I don't go anywhere to do anything unless I have something to do. You know, like tomorrow I'm going to go to the Nespresso store. Um, and if I have something to do, that's nice because that gives me a sense of purpose. And what I can see is that I've always been that. But what I can also see is that the more I live my human design experience, the more I am whittled down to only me. You know, like I can look back and, as I was saying in the beginning, I would try to be something I wasn't for somebody else. I would try to be strategic or, you know, caring in a certain way. And I mean, I can be anything in response, I guess. But I can't even try to be not me anymore. You know, it's like it's so discordant to my essence to try and be who I am not. And I guess I still try like I don't just be mean to people that I want to be mean to because they're talking to me and it's painful. I try not to be mean because people don't know that they're hurting me.
True.
Um, Whereas what I want to be maybe is that cruelty, which is in the base one, just like, get away, I'm moving. I'm on my way. Why are you stopping me to say something that my brain has to process that it has no ability to process? You didn't even ask. You know, it's like people just do this thing, but I try not to be cruel to people because I don't like people being cruel to me. I mean, that's not the thing. So even though I was always movement and seeing, I'm more now. And I wonder, like for you, when we get to the three, if you will identify, yeah, I'm more this now than I was 20 years ago when before I had known human design. Even though I was always that, I am more honed into it now. That's how I'm experiencing it. Because, yeah, my whole life, like all I do, pretty much every day is I go out and I move and I see. I don't stop. I mean, unless I'm, even when I'm tired, I don't stop. I just keep going. So, yeah.
So I do wonder about movement for those that are base one, how that might look differently than,
Then me.
like, say, if they're a projector or a non-energy type, and or even an energy type, their movement is going to look different. But what kind of clicked inside of me was the beauty part that informs the movement in a sense where, yeah. So somebody might say, well, I'm never going to walk 15 kilometers a day or whatever. But if they could notice their movement is always from beauty to beauty, and if
Yeah.
it's not, how are they suffering? You
Nice
know?
one, Lily.
Yeah. Because one of them that I checked, and I don't know if she's a base one or not, but if we were to take it at that face value, Camille is one of them, and she is a
Oh,
mental projector. And if I feel into her for the many years I've known her, she's always moving in some way, but not through 15 kilometers of streets, or roads or whatever, trains,
I
all
can
that.
feel Camille as a base one.
Yeah.
Cool.
So if so that makes me feel like that makes me feel realize that spaciousness I can give around that, but also I can start seeing where she's suffering because she's kind of boxed in from the movement of her beauty journey. But she
Yeah,
has,
because yes, I like that a lot, Lily, and thank you for bringing that up because I am a base one and a generator with three generator channels. So I have a lot of life force energy, maybe more than anyone I know. So movement in my world, if I don't do the 15 kilometers, I don't sleep. Like when I'm out there, 10 is the minimum. And then I go, okay, maybe I'll get to sleep tonight because I've done 10-kilometer. Um, but obviously that would be an entirely different thing for a projector. I mean, even a generator, you
yeah,
know, because not everyone has the same quality of life force energy that I have. So it's not about literally moving the body, but something is moving. Something
yeah,
is moving, and the yeah, I don't quite have the word. Maybe we can find the word about how the beauty and the movement are in a sense they're the same thing.
yeah,
Yeah. And Camille is a good
yeah,
example of that because I can see that in her, though I don't know if I have words yet for that. I have to,
yeah, because
yeah.
that sense of movement isn't literal
No,
necessarily.
it's not literal, it's not body movement because as I say, my cognition when I saw me become, I didn't have a body. I didn't,
Right,
the
right.
body doesn't actually come in until the base three. So it's not about like what I do, literal body moving, but there's something moving.
Yeah.
And it's, I
Move,
guess, consciousness, it's energy, it's
seeing.
huh?
It's seeing. It feels
It's
like
seeing.
when it sees it, the light, it's shedding light on the unseen until
Yeah,
that's what I get from it.
yeah.
So that beauty thing is important. I mean, like you said, everyone loves beauty, but we're talking base one here,
A
foundational.
foundation, a
Yeah.
fundamental. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you for that. I look forward to exploring that more. I can feel that we're going to open this up and unpack this
I
more.
do too.
Yeah,
I mean, in I can see us taking time for each base and recording it
yeah.
and then kind of juxtapositioning juxtapositioning them, when base one is next to a base four or three or
Well,
whatever.
there's a whole teaching. We'll see how much we do today because there's
Yeah.
this is a
But like
big
I
a
want
big
more
thing.
of to spread it out where people don't like glaze over like so much information. For me too, I guess. But I'm not yet.
Well,
This is
and
interesting.
we've talked about how the right brain and the left brain take in very differently. And I'm that left brain who just can keep going and going and going and going. And I have a tone too, so it's just like fast assimilation. You have a tone four, and you're a right brain, so it's taking in, but it's taking in larger swaths of
Yeah.
information. If when I'm listening to Ra, I'm listening to what I'm listening at. When you're listening to a whole lot more. So it takes longer to assimilate with that right brain. And part of the teachings about this are the the different bases are connected to the different bases and not as connected to other bases. So we're going to go into that as well. Um, so am I sort of hearing that you'd like to not do any more, that this is enough? We've done base one?
No, the inspiration and the vision came like, gosh, we could do this portion and that portion and then tie them together because there's a lot of information. So this one setting isn't going to do it. I just realized
Well,
that it
you
came
know
up.
what I'm feeling inclined, what I had imagined I was going to do was the inner visiony thing, and then go through one, and then two, and then three, and then four, and then five. But what I'm feeling inclined to do is jump over to the three.
Because that's the
Both
example.
because that's you, but also because it's such a counterpoint. Um, Now, evolutionarily, it would be make more sense to go one, two, three, four, five, but I think I'm just going to jump over to the three because the base one is the yang yang. It's the yang principle, and the base three is the yin principle. Now, when I when I've been studying this and also in my inner vision, when there's an interesting thing about the three because the three is matter. The three is mother. If the one is yang, it would be the father, and the three would be the mother. It's the
Mater.
yin principle, the double yin, yin yin. It's matter. Okay. Um, and it always was. But until the yang penetrated it, it didn't become. We talked about this the other day, and it was so great for me that you could resonate with these weird words I'm saying. So the three is being. It's what always was. But until the yang comes and penetrates it, it doesn't become. And then, I guess what created the Big Bang was the yang light coming into the yin dark. And then the orgasm of the Big Bang happened and everything became. Um, the whereas the only thing that the yang is really interested in is moving and beauty and seeing and all of that. The only thing that the yin is interested in is survival because we have a body now. Like the yang doesn't really even relate to the body. It wants to penetrate the body because then it sees something new. But the yin principle is matter. And if it doesn't survive, what's the point? Right? So the yin principle is about survival and it's staying alive. It's the body. And the way it has developed to stay alive is through cooperation. We're going to go deeper and deeper into cooperation. Being is matter. Matter is. Matter is survival. Survival operates in two ways. You must satisfy the body with solids and liquids. You got to feed it. If you don't feed it, it dies. And if if there's no cooperation, everyone will kill each other and everyone will die. So cooperation is fundamental to survival. The primary motivation to cooperate is so everyone can get along in the Maya. The the yin yin, the base three, uses what we have come to call feminine wiles. It uses the sexuality, it uses the touch, it uses micro affections. It might have been Jonah who said that. Love that term. It's micro affections, right? These just little affectionate gestures that go, ah, yum, okay, I'll quit. I'll quit fighting because now I feel yummy because you were affectionate with me. Um, they will use sexuality and food to neutralize that force of the one, the base one, the yang yang, and they will manipulate with touch to get cooperation. It's so interesting because as I say, here I am in a female body with all of that stuff of femaleness going on, but I have that yang yang perspective that I've had for 15 billion years. And you can see in media and movies and books and in everyday life that there is a archetype of the feminine who uses their sexuality to manipulate the masculine. It's just right there. And I have always had a bit of feeling of distaste for that. I didn't want ever to do that because it was distasteful for me. And now I can see that it's that yang yang that doesn't like it, but they do like it. If I come in and I really want to move and I really want to move, but you come and you start rubbing my shoulders, I'll stay. I'll stay and I'll cooperate so my shoulders will get rubbed. And
because
if we
that's
were,
beauty.
huh?
Because that's beauty.
Well, it's that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing because it's built right into our fundamental natures. That without the ability of the yin to manipulate the yang will just let everything destroy itself because it doesn't really care about all of that. It just wants to go open something else up and see it. Just wants to go find some new beauty. Um, what can tend to happen in that relationship between the yang and the yin is that they bicker because they don't see eye to eye. Of any two bases that are not going to see the way the other sees, it's the pure yin and the pure yang. And yet they have also a fundamental attraction because it's how we're designed. Um, Even a conversation can be a form of sexual manipulation. Like I was thinking, because I've been thinking about this, knowing that you're the base three and I'm the one. I imagine us in these scenarios, and I'm like, oh yeah, when Lily talks to me about human design, I'll just stay and cooperate with her as much as she wants.
I know that.
I know, and it's kind of delicious that these things that when they're underhanded are really kind of awful. But the same thing above board can just be kind of delicious.
Yes.
I can come over and see you, and I'm like, I have no time. I have to keep going. I have to keep going. And then you just kind of rub my shoulders or something. I'm like, well, okay, I can stay a little while. And then we can laugh about it, right?
Yes.
Um, the body is who carries the senses. Now, the senses, remember, are connected to the tones. There are cognition, smell, taste, outer vision, inner vision, feeling, and touch. All these senses are the cognitions that we actually base our authorities on, right? Um, these senses can be communicated by conversation, through psychology, through the physical, the body information, the biology. Um, the base three is who's holding all of this. Like if we didn't have the base three, there might be some kind of movement and energy and light going on, but we wouldn't have a world. We wouldn't be hugging each other and all of the stuff that's kind of juicy. There wouldn't be juice. Um, there's also in the base three is the ferociousness that will just kill without a thought to protect its young, to protect its survival.
Like a collie.
Yeah. This is where we get the genetic imperative that lives in the base three, the survival of the species. It's, in a sense, the genetic imperative is a lot of what pulls us into transference because we are attracted to what we are not, and then we try to be what we are not because we think that's going to help us survive. There's a little glitch
Yeah.
in the giddy up there. And what human design teaches us is, yeah, you can be attracted to what you are not. So you and I can be attracted to each other, but I should not try to be you and you should not try to be me, right? Um, the genetic imperative is is what we need to understand in order not to go into transference. I did a whole book on this, so I'm not going to go into it right now. So, in order to just survive, we must join together to hunt, to eat. We must find a way to trust the one who feeds us. The yin, base three, always tries to get others to do the things for it and maintains their loyalty through sex, through microaffections, through feeding them. So it's, it works just fine for me as a base one if I do the doing because I'm also a generator with tons of energy. Um, but I've seen this thing in you where with your husband Steve, you have him do everything and I don't like it. I just don't like it. Now, seeing it through this perspective, I'm going to see how I can see it differently. As I say, it hasn't bothered me to do things because I have so much energy I need to expend it. But I haven't appreciated the yin having someone else do it for them. It doesn't kind of sit well with me, but it's part of the deal. So it's not about me thinking it's right or wrong, obviously. This is the atomic world of Einstein. This is the mother. The mother carries, nourishes life. They are never actually alone. This is the reproductive potential. Sex for survival. This is where the teaching is that the fates underlie everything. The bringing such sexuality and sensuality through touch. It is the base three that demands problems of survival be dealt with, but doesn't want to do it herself. She builds cooperation so others will do her bidding. They get the energy from the one. They bring the two outside to cooperate in building and utilize the brilliance of their mind. When we get to the two, we're going to see this brilliant mental field, which is really quite astonishing. So the three is the one who goes, okay, you're good at that, you're good at that, and you're good at that. Let me bring you all together and you do it. Let's cooperate so you can do all the things I want. Uses sexuality and charisma to gloss over conflict. Oh, and then Ra told this darling little story. Um, so the young, in fact, I heard something the other day. I was watching a show, Private Practice. I don't know if you've ever seen that. And there's this really super cute young guy who is a um, receptionist in a medical practice in LA. And he has a major crush on one of the main women who's, I don't know, at least a decade or more older than he is. And she's going through something. And one day he brought her a cake and she's just eats the cake. She's like having emotional things going on and she just eats the cake. And he keeps bringing cake to her. And she keeps eating the cake. And then he's talking to another guy in the practice. He goes, why do you keep bringing cake to Naomi? He goes, well, I've realized what you do for women. You find out what they want and you give it to them. And I found that really quite profound. You find out what she wants and you give it to her. I think that probably works. And I can see you're kind of going, huh?
I'm thinking.
If what you want is given to you, you're going to like it, right?
I don't, part of me goes, well, wouldn't anybody want that?
No, I want to move.
But that's something you want, and it's
But
the
no one can bring that to me. They can just get out of the way. I can feel as a female if someone gives me something I want, but as a base one, no, I don't want you to give me anything. I just want to move.
I suppose to for me, something that's wanted is variable, is very, you know, quite, it can vary quite a bit. So it's not about, I think if we could just tease this particular part out about having everything done for me and I do nothing, that doesn't feel right. It feels like I'm doing everything by coordinating things to get done. So I do nothing. I I do without doing. So it's just not me being kind of some dumb blob just sitting there and everyone wait on me. That doesn't feel right. That's where my mind went. So that's kind of curious in that sense. But the essence of the the yin, the mater, the matter, um, it would be impossible for me to just move by myself. I can't.
Right,
Right.
right.
So it's not a matter of everyone doing for me. I'm conflicted between that essence of the value because the other doesn't feel valuable because that's why it's distasteful to you. What value is it when somebody does everything for you and you're weak? You can't even do anything for yourself. That's what I heard your disgust say to me. Not to me, but about that. Does that make any sense? So I would like to actually not maybe not this time, but to tease that out. Like, what is that? Quality of matter, mother, mater, um, ama, maya, whatever the words are for matter, the feminine, for just being.
Well, I think that one thing that could be helpful is if Steve wanted to chime in on this. Because as I say, I haven't found doing something, well, one time I did when I was scrubbing your floor and you didn't even thank me. I didn't like it. But um, I don't, I imagine that your husband gets enough of what the yin provides that that it works for him to do all the doing stuff. So I think that would be the other perspective.
The term all the doing stuff, that just doesn't sit well. So I would like for me to,
Do you want me to tell you exactly what I'm talking about? I
would
mean, we
you?
might as well go into it.
Okay. I'm
Um, when I would see that Steve would work all day and come home and clean the house and tend the garden. That's what I'm calling doing all the doing stuff. Whereas you did not have a job out of the house, you were home a lot of the day, but you didn't do those things. You didn't clean the floors or mow the lawn or any of that. And I couldn't understand why the one that was working so hard would come home and work at home. But he didn't ever seem to be bothered by it. It was me. And it may be the young perspective. I don't know. He must be getting something that works because I don't ever remember hearing him complain, and he seemed kind of happy to do it. I just didn't like, I don't get this. How would this be okay? Like it didn't, that's specifically what I'm talking about. So there could be that there is such um, a yin, a shakti, we can call the yin energy shakti, I like that word, that you provide that that just works. And I'm not privy to understanding that. All I'm seeing is what actually is being done or not done in any, in any given moment.
That doesn't even closely address what I was trying to express earlier about the doing, you know.
Okay.
I feel like I'm doing all the time, but not in the way maybe the homogenized world would look at it, you know. Why um why would I just do nothing? That's it. That's not what I feel that I do. It's not that I don't do anything. Mine's probably more, you used a word on me one time. What you can't quite put your finger on it. What is that word? Not enigmatic. What is it? Like I am webbing and doing things all the time, but it's just not seen. That's kind of like the feminine in that sense. You know, you grew a baby, but people can't see that, right? It's not as young. It's not young. It's,
That's right.
you know,
That's right.
so to assume that person's doing nothing is kind of harsh to me.
Did I ever say, or
Well,
there was no
you were saying
words that said, and you do nothing.
he said he does everything. So what's left after everything? Nothing.
Okay.
So anyway, I wanted to just stir that little pot a little bit.
So when I first brought this to you, I can remember this very clearly because I had actually wondered how you would respond when I said this. It was a number of weeks ago, and you and Steve were on the phone. I think you had it on speakerphone, and I said, "Yeah," and the the base three um, gets others to do their bidding, and both you and Steve cracked up. And my interpretation of that is that you recognized it. Was I wrong? You
Well,
both laughed.
right. But the thing is, there's so much more when there's a guiding or a direction of energy to create more, let's say, thriving or thrival or even surviving kind of um, put in motion and how others we're all together. So it's just not one person doing it. So I can see where somebody shines over there and hopefully can call out them contributing to something that I'm not going to do or I don't want to do or don't have the capabilities. So yeah, I recognize that, but there's such a depth to me behind that rather than it being just surface.
So if you tune in, maybe close your eyes if you want, and tune into that base three, the essential beingness, the matter, the mother, the Shakti, the isness. What is the doing that you relate to?
Well, I guess the one of the things is things come out of the um, the feminine, and so I am giving birth to things, you know, in that sense, and that's definitely doing. It could be through the senses, it could be through seeing the frequency, the vibration, the feeling of it, uh, where people can't see or feel or sense. That's doing. That's not just sitting there. That's, or allowing, should I say, or um, open to the the creativeness, the giving birth to something. It's always giving birth to something and seeing, and it's clever and it's It can see and it can manipulate people who don't mind being manipulated. So there is above, like you were saying, there's above board and there's below board. So the above board, I can, um, you know, want to relate to all the time. It's not that I'm not below board, but I don't feel that it's a conscious thing for me. Like I don't manipulate consciously, as a salesperson might want to manipulate you to buy the product kind of thing.
That's gate 26.
Yeah. And that is my core wounding, gate 26. I don't have gate 26, but um, so, you know, in time after this conversation, things will arise probably after we're done talking. Well, why did that press some buttons inside of me? And what is the reality of just me being the third base, right? So I'm here to, um, I think, raise that bar or raise the awareness around that in a world that doesn't appreciate the feminine. When you talked about the yang wanting to penetrate but doesn't really care about the feminine, right? You can see how that in this world expresses itself.
Yeah,
The masculine wants to penetrate the feminine without even caring or
yeah,
wanting to know what the feminine is. What do I get from the feminine? Well, I get my existence, basically.
that's right.
And so to raise that awareness that it's has value um, and beauty and purpose and a doing. There's a doing. You can't exist without doing something. Breathing is a doing. Um, I guess as I'm talking, it's revealing what my main thrust has been in this life, is to bring the feminine into the respect and the honor that it deserves. So when I hear like she does nothing, it's like, wait, just a minute. I think that's what the masculine thinks. She's more submissive. She's below me, right? And I want to penetrate her and move
Keep
on.
going.
Yeah.
That's right.
And the feminine aspect on a real surface level has a difficulty in um, her value, her self-value. So, I mean, to me, that's how I see expressed in this particular Maya. It's this.
Yeah, yeah.
So from the very beginning of the Big Bang, what was that value? What was that essence of 20% of the five pieces of pie, you know, and how they all can't exist without each other, basically, if we within this context. So it pressed some buttons inside of me, I'll have to say.
I would love to invite you, Lily. I'm hearing two kind of
Yeah.
different things. One is um, a recognition and a dawning of awareness of that essential quality of beingness that isn't doingness, it actually is beingness. And what it provides, which basically it provides everything. Without the being, there would be nothing. Um, and then overlaid on that, I'm hearing that you have felt in this lifetime, who knows about other ones, the the disrespect that has been heaped on the female, basically, for a few millennia at this point. I mean, I have actually a theory that before patriarchy took hold and we had the horrors of that, um, I think the feminine was in the ascendant, and it cared very little for the masculine except as a thing that could penetrate it to get energy. So I think we've done both has where the yin has been like, oh God, you are just yeah, keep moving.
Yeah.
And the masculine had been like, well, what are you? You know? And hopefully there's going to be the balance, but I don't know if that balance is going to come until the base one is actually gone because it's so fundamental in its movement that it almost can't see the feminine as something other than as a little stop along the movement way.
Yeah.
And I do see, I mean, you have a lot in your chart. You're also that godhead of Maya, which is the primordial feminine. And so I think I do see that you are here not only as a base three, as 20% of all are, but that you have a focus to bring some awareness about that in this lifetime, and that it may, just like I've been able to go, okay, people don't like me because of this thing I actually really, really, really am. It's different to be not liked because I'm in transference or, you know, being
Yeah.
my not self or, inflamed and amplifying in my open centers. If I'm not liked for that, that's fair because that's not who I am anyway. And maybe I can get more graceful with being who I am. But if someone doesn't like me because of who I am for the last 15 billion years, well, I guess we didn't make it this time. And so I'm going to invite you into maybe a similar process to see, yeah, you have some wounding maybe in people looking at you, such as me, and going, how come you're not doing that? How come Steve's doing all the housework and he also works? But what is beneath that? Where is the place where Lily goes, it has nothing fucking to do with that, Tiera, and you're not seeing the deeper layer of this. And when you can sit, because they stand, when you can sit in that, and it doesn't fucking matter that
It
I
doesn't.
think that you're not doing enough. And it was never that you weren't doing enough. It was that he had to do it all. It was actually about Steve. It wasn't about you. I mean, indirectly it was. I would just see him hurting and didn't like it. And so I would try and do stuff, but then I would be hurting. So it was more that than an inherent something. But yeah, when you can sit in the complete acceptance of that yin yin, then what you have to bring will be.
Hmm. Yeah. On a grander scale from the Big Bang and the five bases, this base is about matter. And with matter, there's boundaries.
Yes.
And so as I develop my unique, not develop it, but acknowledge my own uniqueness, my own beingness, and it's not a concept, it's not a belief, it's embodied.
That's right.
That brings boundaries. So if the masculine yang yang, no matter what kind of body it is in,
Yeah.
is the place where I just say, no, that's you. If you want to see it more deeply or from a different perspective, okay. But just to go about wanting to use the feminine and then go about their own business and leaving the feminine more in the dark and not self as aware with boundaries. I think that's what's happening now in this change of cycle. I see it everywhere. Of course, my view is probability. So I see all kinds of um, trends going and things breaking down that held something in place that that can't be held in place anymore. And you take it out of the personal, because the personal is, this is just what it is, what will lead me to something greater rather than just stay stuck in the personal. So
That's
you
right.
so you look at the Big Bang and the base theory, I can see where you're coming from, how it could answer so many things. And that it gives me a wider perspective
Yeah.
and view and
Yeah.
self-acceptance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the old feminine will say, well, I'm valueless because it has to take the masculine to do something for me. Otherwise, I have no power. I have no energy, which is true on a very basic level. But when you get it through the filters of the matter and the not self, then it just starts making all these religions and rules and regulations to keep that in check, right? And that's all falling apart. Now what? You know?
Well,
Uh,
that's interesting because it's the base four that does all those rules and regulations to try and keep everything in check. And the three and the four don't get along. Well, they don't have an inherent connection like the one and the three or the three and the two do.
right. So if what is the four? Is that yin, yang? What
The four is the eldest daughter. It's the yin who uses the yang, uses the energy to design, to structure, to create those rules and regulations.
so it's the yin using the yang.
Yeah. Whereas the two is the yang penetrating the yin.
Okay. So interesting.
Yeah, we'll do those two next time.
Yes, I know, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So
So,
this is something actually really, really profound and deep
yeah,
because without the yin, there is actually no game to play. There's no movie. There's nothing. We're not doing anything because there's nothing to do. I mean, I guess I could just be zooming and seeing if that was all there was. But the movie, the juicy movie, happens because of the yin. And that's where all the power is.
so it has with through human design, seeing without just seeing the mechanics rather than weighing and measuring and comparing better, worse, because we live in the dualistic world. So we're trying to transcend
That's right.
that in a sense by being a witness to it all, but also seeing like um, there's nothing more or less about any of it.
And mechanics, in a sense, are the yin, because me the yin is objective. It's the object, right? And that's what runs mechanically. You can look at the mechanics of an object to see how it operates,
Yeah.
whether it's a human or a toaster or whatever.
Mhm.
It's if there's an object, it has a mechanic. And so the mechanics are what are trustworthy because you can understand them. I can see how I operate. I can see how
Yeah.
you operate.
It's trustworthy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's trustworthy because it's an operating system and you can see how that mechanic works. Ra has spoken to this, and I can see also that there is something inherent in the yin that wants to disregard the yang because it's kind of ridiculous. It's like, why are you going out searching for beauty when we don't have any food and our children are starving? Right? It's like it's easy to disregard that, but I have to. Sorry, I have to go search for more beauty now.
Yeah.
And so then the yin, in its very pragmatic nature, will go find some other yang to feed its children. It's just all of it is mechanic. And with you, Lily, when I just want to, I guess, say the same thing again, when you get to that true awareness and celebration of that yin yin base, whew, the world will change. because I think that that's something that this is my experience of you, that you've been feeling disregarded and fighting to get instead of recognizing to be.
There is a balance there because when the yin wants to express itself, there's a lot of roadblocks in certain cultures on the surface, right? Like say as an example, breathe your own air, have your face covered except for your eyes. There's something you have to fight there because you can't express yourself. You can be, but there's no opportunity to really, what does that mean to be when the the fourth base is saying, here's some rules and regulations, right? That's what I heard you say, heard that was said. So there has to be a reaction in that sense. There has to be a push to for that seedling to come up through the concrete, to be expressed as the end. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
I
So
hear you.
I don't know where the balance is in that.
Well, however, I hear
Yeah.
you, and I think it's all such bullshit. It seems to me that if there's someone behind a veil who's being repressed
Yeah.
because of the rules and regulations, and there's two people, and they're both base three, the one who absolutely embodies the base three is still going to be a different power in the world than the one who's fighting the rules and regulations.
I don't know if matter can grow without some kind of nourishment. So how do you get nourishment from suppression? I mean, I'm not asking for answers right now, but it just is opening up. I mean, this is good. This is a good thing to opening up
Because
some of
if
the
the
way of
base
being.
three is that connected to that essential nature, they will call forth nourishment. It's the natural, it's what would just happen. They will provide some micro affections, even through their eyes, that will bring someone to offer the nourishment, as opposed to either feeling like nothing because they're told they're nothing, or fighting because they know they're something. It's different than both of those.
I'll have to think about that because it is. I get it is different. Um, so we don't live in a vacuum. We don't live, you know, totally alone. We're here to actually connect and when it's correct, have other people's outer authorities share with something because we have that piece of the whole to be expressed. So I can see the micro affections beginning to break down the concepts of the oppression. Um, so if let's say I need to take the burqa off as an example and walk the streets, I know I might be jailed or in other times or even now stoned to death because we can't have you free. We can't have you do that. That might be an act of affection for creation by just taking that burqa off and knowing that you might get punished to the point where you don't exist anymore. But there is an example that reverberates throughout the feminine, like, wait, I'm not going to fight this. I'm just going to keep being what I need to be. I live in a place where it's more easily for me to say, yeah, I see what you're saying. Just keep being, who I am rather than thinking about it or talking about it. And that will change a lot of things. Like like you said, whew, I can see that. But I don't know where the boundaries need to change or expand in a physical form. You just can't come and penetrate me anytime you feel like, type of thing. Boundary. Make any sense?
Well,
So
I'm
there's,
glad.
go ahead.
Well,
I asked.
I don't know how we got onto the burqa.
No, well, that's my example. We can drop
Right.
that. That I don't want to, it's just an example of how it expresses itself now. So if you don't resist or don't fight it, there's something else. And that's just being. That's what I hear. Yeah.
But there's something deeper about that. And I'm inviting you to
Yeah.
discover what that is so you can let us know. Because I
Okay.
can't discover what that is like you can.
Yeah. And my entry point was the surface, which is what's
Okay.
happening.
Okay.
And so it will lead to something, because otherwise it's too big of a burden to carry on that personal level. It has to be a beingness, of since before the Big Bang, that, ooh,
Yeah, but this is you. This is you being your beingness.
right,
Like we were saying with me, not everyone runs 15-kilometer every day. That's
right.
Tiera's way. Not everyone is going to be the beingness that Lily is. And what is that? What is the truth of that? The essence of that beingness, not what you think that word means or I think that word means. Like, what really is it? Because the being was before the Big Bang,
The word that
but there
comes,
wasn't becoming until the Big Bang.
so maybe that is the ultimate embodiment of the base three, because it's physical, it's embody, it's incarnate, it's
In the
that
meat.
in the meat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in my life, on a personal level, from a base three perspective,
Yeah.
is that I am impotent if I don't embody something that I'm supposed to embody in this lifetime for me. My perspective, my contributions, the way I walk in the world, you know. Um, I find that if I come from my own experience, my own truths, what I found out, there'll just be those people that, and I'm walking it rather than a concept, which can happen very easily as well, to be in the mind. That's when things move. That's when I can feel things shift and change within my own life and then whoever I come in contact with. And it's really more, it's very yin, it's very being rather than doing. So I'm talking out loud and it's keep leading to that. So um, the reason why I went to this to the surface of this life, it leads me into something grander before the Big Bang, something I've been my whole existence, something you've been your whole existence, that it puts a different spin on it for sure,
Yeah.
from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And it will help my buttons that are pushed
Yeah.
to actually become awareness and wisdom. I'm not saying I'm there, but I'm saying that I could at least see that
Yeah.
because it's
And
hard.
it's an interesting thing to me because there's so many um, archetypes in our world, and it's easy to kind of put things in their little slots. You know, I think of women in the 50s who would be the yin little thing to the yang that was going out so that they would get their house and get all their material needs met. And yes, that's what it is, but it's also not what it is
Yeah,
because that was disgusting.
yeah,
You know, it's like they're playing out a form that has a basis in what it's about, but it's not being done properly.
yeah.
You know, it's not about you can treat me like a piece of shit and I'll soothe you all the time so you pay all the bills and I have nice clothes and the kids go to good schools. It's like, no, that's actually disgusting. And that was a big, huge piece of our world. And it's not that, but but underlying it, it's that, if you know what I
Yes,
mean.
yes,
And so, what can you as a base three go, that is fucking bullshit, but the core of it is true. So let's get back to that core
yeah.
rather than this stupid horror of the 1950s where everyone was an alcoholic and abusing their children and their wives. Just awful. Just really, really awful. And yet, you know, we hear about the base three that they manipulate through sexuality and touch and affection to get what they want. It just went wrong. It went it went into an arena where it was not nourishing for anybody, probably.
So it's the program, it's the not self program that we're witnessing and trying to be the observer and the passenger moving through the program and still feeling and seeing, but not identifying. So to change the identity, how we identify, people identify. Now, whether that can be changed within this program on this earth and this Maya, I don't know.
Well, it
But
is changing. It's changing. We're at the last year. I mean, that's what's so funny is that it is changing before our very eyes.
it is changing, but that doesn't mean it's going anywhere. Like
Uh,
mutation, it could be a failed mutation. Who knows? But um,
it's still changing.
it's still changing, and that's where the flow is taking me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing more and more, and other people don't see it because that's not their view. That's not their
Uh-huh.
perspective. So
Yeah.
how do we communicate with each other? Because we're not separate, but yet we are.
Yeah.
So your base one um, is not me,
Oh,
and vice versa. But
right.
I like I'm entertained by it. I like it. Now I haven't always liked it because I didn't understand it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess what we want from each other is just give me space, to be, and let's celebrate that.
Yeah.
So the base theory, I could see why you're so excited about it.
Thank you, Lily.
And I would like to continue with it with, in other
Yeah, we can do
yeah.
this again. Let me read just some more of my notes,
Okay.
go over the rest of my notes on the three, and then we can both, whatever we do,
Yeah.
and then we can come back and maybe do two and four. Um, so sex is the ultimate bargaining chip. The yin uses it to control the yang. The yang must be controlled because otherwise it's just a wild thing. I mean, we talked about that in our phone call the other day. I'm a wild fox. I was saying a wild dog, but then I saw a fox and I liked it. So I'm a wild fox. And, you know, I like being used for my energy, but don't try and stop me from moving. I think that's why New York is so, I feel so at home because that's just primary in New York. Yeah, people will help you. They're actually very helpful
They
people. Just
are.
don't fucking stop them. Don't try and take them away from their movement. Maybe it's a base one place. Sexuality is survival. Once we truly surrender to the Maya, she leaves us alone. So just work with it. Procreation as cooperation, getting along. The 59-6 is a de-escalator of tensions. It's just I'm kind of an ironic thing that I'm this base one and a 59-6 and a female. So when I get into my 59-6, I can be very um, charismatic and engaging and I can de-escalate tensions and connect and all of that stuff. But when I'm not in that, I'm not that at all. And I'm not a split, so it's not that.
Yeah.
This is the filter. The base three is the filter that concretizes form. Again, it's the atom, the genetic imperative. This is where the bargain comes from. I am the queen. Look after me. I must be fed, housed, clothed by the yang. Without the continuity of life, it's just the gods masturbating. That must have come from Ra.
Say that again. Without the,
Without the matter, without the third base, the matter, it's just masturbating. There's no form that's created. There's nothing to give birth
oh,
to.
oh, manifesting.
No manifesting. Yeah. The vehicle is the holiest thing of all. Without the body, there is nothing. Without movement, the body is, but nothing happens. Did you get that? So
Without movement.
without the body, there's nothing. Without movement, the body is, but nothing happens.
I get that.
Okay,
I always think of movement as friction and heat, and that's where mutation comes from.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yin knows that through cooperation, our world can change. The Yang just wants to move and see. There's no connection or interest in cooperation. The Yin says, You are all my children. The Yang says, Fuck that. Bases one and three will argue. There's a fundamental perspective discord. This is where continuity lives. The mother can be savage and ferocious. There is no morality here. When the power returns to the hands of the yin, then the world can begin. I added that last part because I needed a rhyme there.
So say that again. The mother, um,
When the power returns to the hands of the yin, the world can begin.
this you said that or Ra said that?
I have
When
written in my notes when power returns to the hands of the yin, but that sentence was not a full sentence. I added the world can begin.
yeah, I think Ra talked about in our homogenized version, everything's 50-50, you know, in the masculine, feminine, man, woman,
Oh,
50-50.
yeah, but it's not.
It's not. You said it's like 70-30, I think. 70 yin and 30.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that there's a, there's also an archetype where the women hang out and talk about their husbands, like, yeah, they're just little boys. You got to take care of them, and you're really the one in control of everything, but let them think they're in control. And I think there's a truth in that as well. Again, we've bastardized these things, and um, I guess it's living in a transferred world. I was thinking the other day, I was like, why do we have to live in a world where pretty much everyone gets broken by their parents?
Yeah.
I,
I
it,
got
it, it's like, I'm not saying why do children die and are there Hitlers and all of that shit, whatever. But why do we all have to be broken by our parents? And the only thing I've come up with about that is that because we have to go into transference or we don't play out this play that we're all playing out.
is it the friction of that that creates growth? the friction of let's say broken by the parents from one degree or another,
I think
from
with it, I think what being broken by our parents creates is transference. I get needy, you get scared.
yeah,
It's like I think it's a problem in color. And I think that's how color does it, is it has our parents break us so that we try and homogenize ourselves to feel whatever it is that we're not feeling,
that
that
you
we
could
think.
aspire. So that is the yin yin or the embodiment at work here, right? Because it is upside down or ass backwards, however you want to look at it, for what the potential could be for
Yeah,
everyone. Yeah,
yeah.
that
And
would,
maybe once the air on, first we're having this whole rave thing happen, right?
yeah.
And the rave is a penta world. Pentas are the most horrible things for me. It's just like this. They're just like, that's hell. No, no, no. Um, and then after the penta, there's this thing called the Aeron, which has three personality crystals. And I'm wondering if that's maybe the five absorbs the two, three, four, because the one's going away. I'm really happy about that. It's interesting because Ross said when he first started teaching bass, he didn't want to tell people that the one was going to be destroyed because everyone else is immortal except for the one, they're going to be destroyed. He said, I just didn't know how people would take that. But my immediate response was such relief because I know that I don't belong in this cooperative thing. It doesn't suit me if I can't move and be unique and independent. I will wither and die anyway. And I can see the world moving toward not needing me. Not me, Tiera. It's not personal at all, but me as this base one who opens up the new territory. We're not we're not needing new territory anymore. So I'm just kind of placeholding. It's like I go open up new territory for me. I have not yet been to Toulon. I am going to Toulon next. Okay,
Well, just by you being you, though, you've opened up new territories for me.
that's good. That's
So,
very good.
I know that's not your purpose, but it is an
Well, it's
effect
part of the
and an
purpose,
impact.
actually.
Yeah. Because why would one still be, they're still needed if base ones are still being
They're still here for now.
explored.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
was Raw a one?
At one point, I thought he said he was, but Jonah says consistently that he was a four, and it makes sense that he was a four because he structured a whole new thing called human
Yeah,
design.
true. Okay.
So he does fit the four, but I thought I heard, but then I thought maybe I misheard. So Jonah sounds absolutely certain that he's a four.
Mm.
Randy Richmond was apparently a one.
Oh, he was?
Mhm.
Well, that doesn't mean he's not coming back. At some point, the ones are not going to be
I sometimes wonder if this is my
reincarnated.
last life just because it's so phenomenal. Like like I'm wandering around the world seeing all the places I haven't seen yet. Right?
Right?
Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go?
Um,
But I don't know. I don't know
you
if
don't
that's
know.
relevant.
Are you interested in a bardo? I'm curious about that
I don't
being
know what you mean.
like set up like you ask people like help me go through my bardo because you
Well,
have to
I have it set up in my five wishes, which I don't know where that is. I need to find that. And I've asked you for that.
yeah.
I don't want to be a discarnate entity.
So so the bardo could help you just move on to the sun, go into the sun or and become
I don't
neutrino.
know the mechanics of that enough to tell you the
Yeah.
truth.
It's like I can remember someone saying that the voice said you're not coming back or
I
something.
know, I remember hearing that too. And so
Yeah.
I was I was
curious.
curious about it. I've also heard Ross say over and over again that if you don't get the bardo, you become a discarnate entity and you don't go back to your crystal bundle. But then I also one time heard him say that he went to the wrong crystal bundle, but he obviously came back because he was here.
Yeah.
So there's a little I'm wondering about that. I also wonder why is the crystal bundle connected to the color instead of the base? Because wouldn't our bundle be our base? Why is it our color? Because that changes every time. So I don't
Um,
understand that. And I've asked a few people, I think I asked Alok and someone else, and they answered in a way that I don't think they understood the question.
yeah.
Or they
Well,
didn't answer. Yeah. Oh, Mark, that was one of the other questions I asked, and it was like, that's a right brain answer, not a left brain answer. Yeah, that's a very sincere question for me. So if anyone, is it okay if we just post this?
I would love it. Just do it.
Okay, so I'm going to post this. If anyone knows about that, why are our crystal bundles connected to the color instead of the base? I would like to know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody might have that piece out there.
Cool. So I'm finished with this pet sit. On the 28th, I go to a new pet sit. I think I think the person is there that night and leaves the next day. That may not be true, but I have until the 8th, but till the 6th, because she's saying I can stay a couple extra days because I'm in between. So between the 29th and the 6th, we could set up another time.
Okay. January 29th. That's when you start the next pet sit.
That's
And
where
you'll
I'll be
be,
there. And I think she's gone that day. I don't
and then
exactly remember.
um that's in some
But between
somewhere
the 3rd and the 5th, for sure. I
is
mean, the 30th and the 5th. That's a definite window where I'll be in the house with, I think it's two cats and a dog.
is this London?
No, it's north of London in an area called Beaconsfield, which
It beckons
is
you.
apparently it's a very nice house and not terribly far from at least a little town that's pretty. So hopefully I'll have enough to do.
Yeah. Okay. So I put down the a really good window between the 30th and the 5th. And
Kitty, the kitties came in.
and you're leaving in 2 days. Oh, no, wait. You're staying at where you're at
I'm
until
here until the 28th.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Um, I'm sure I'll take a look at the books and let's
Okay.
anchor something in, and that's always
Yeah,
it's
that
always
helps to
subject
get a little
to
anchor there.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Lily. I'm glad it worked.
Me too. It felt like it just needed that little stepping over that doorway of
Uh-huh.
ideas. I liked it. Thank you so much for inviting me.